Welcome back to NutriSmart Snax. So I know we talk about a lot of fun things, and one of the driest topics, no, I'm not trying to tell you to turn this off, I'm telling you to tune in, can be food safety. But you got to know the right guy, and we have the right guy here today to talk to us about all things school food safety, what to avoid and what to know. Welcome everyone to our podcast. Today, we're sitting with partners in school nutrition, diving into actionable inspiration to provide you not only ideas, but strategies for success. I'm your host, Maureen Pisanick, and I'm thrilled to explore this topic with you and with some of our school nutrition friends. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, Jason Miller from SFS PAC. We've known each other for a long time.
20-ish years?
Yeah, when I was a baby dietitian over there in Chagrin Falls, where your offices are. So you're a local office partner, James Bannerman. You have made a career out of helping schools be successful with their food safety sanitation programs.
Correct.
We can't give good service unless we get it. And I just want to say, it's been over 2 decades. First of all, I can't believe we're that old. It's been a long haul, but I will say, you know, some things don't go out of season, out of fashion. And one of the things we work on every year is trying not to get that same food safety inspection ding, right? So one of the things I loved when I was a food service director is we worked with your company, which we'll learn about a little more. But the predominant thing I loved that you did was you helped us inspect what the inspectors were inspecting.
Yep.
So, you know, being able to have a team member on your side. As a dietitian, I love the food part. I love the menu writing. I didn't so much like the HACCP walkthrough, the food safety, sanitation checks, but your business does a great job of not only supplying well-costed, compliant cleaning products, but the idea of the process. The process is where the king is, you know, the king of having a good program and having it safe. So talk to me just a little bit about SFS PAC in terms of when you walk into a school, you know, what is the game plan for you besides bringing, you know, the tools and the resources? What are you looking at to help empower schools to be that extra set of eyes on the process?
Hopefully not scaring everybody away when I walk in.
They scatter. Oh, we don't have time for this today.
Yeah, something that our company is really passionate about is when we partner up with a school district, we look at ourselves as true partners of the folks in the kitchen. And initially when someone signs up with us, they may not like the idea of, oh, we just want to order our chemicals and have them dropped off and we never want to see anybody, as opposed to our service comes in and we make sure that we're replenishing the products. We're not giving them a year's worth of product that's going to take up a lot of space, but we're also making sure that the folks are using them properly, because there's hundreds of different chemicals on the market. The chemicals aren't really what's important. Mm-hmm. How we use them is what's important, and so our company helps to make sure that that's happening.
I love that. So, you know, we talk through like food safety being probably not the most exciting PD day, but one of the things you guys do is not only leverage support in professional development training during the days that those are available. Thank you for being here at one of ours.
Thank you for having me.
You also provide a lovely calendar with like a monthly reminder of a hot topic to kind of just remind folks to kind of keep going with their education. Yep. Their little micro moments of reinforcement of good practices and good protocols. But you also, when you come in, you don't, like you said, you don't just drop and go. Yep. You actually take a walk around and you help folks. You are a support to avoid what I would call like, what are the top things you see schools doing wrong? Don't call anybody out, but I know we've shared some good stories. But you know, what are the top things you go in and you look for, and you really heighten the awareness of the staff so that when those food safety and sanitation audits happen, 3 a year minimally, the health department, you have a food service license, you are operating under the agreement that you are keeping food safe. Yep. What do you see are the top things that you help schools avoid getting infractions on?
So what's most important in schools is that there are routines in place that go right along with the standard operating procedures in the food safety HACCP plan. And sometimes those routines can get out of place. Mm-hmm. We're human. if you ask, like, what is the number one thing you see? I'll tell you the most dangerous thing that I see, potentially dangerous anyway, and nobody likes to talk about it. It is a dry topic. I just brought it up in the session I just had, and there was a few rolled eyes. Hand washing is the most important thing that folks do. We all know that. Our whole society knows that, especially after COVID.
Right.
Parents have been beating it in their kids' heads. Wash your hands, wash your hands. However, say I go to 5 or 6 visits a day with different schools, it is at least one kitchen I go in that there will be a moment where somebody either doesn't wash their hands when they should, or wash them properly. Yeah. And people think I made up how to wash your hands. I didn't make up how to wash your hands. I didn't make up the soaps on how to do it. The whole food code is based on science. So people have done studies on how are we washing our hands properly to really remove what's in our hands, the dirt, the grime, food allergens. That's another big one. So folks not taking the time to wash their hands properly, and we all do things that we don't even think about. Yeah. We touch something here and there, and one of the things we see, and the one thing in the last several years that has crept up more and more, and districts have actually had to put policies formally in place, is touching your phone while working. And I don't care if somebody touches their phone. I won't even say anything about it. However, if they touch their phone when they're going in between the prep area and out to serve, and they put gloves on without washing their hands, well, that's a real issue. Little things like that.
So you're really calling, and again, it's just human nature. Like you said, you're not calling anybody out. But I will say one of the coolest things I saw, and it wasn't in a school, it was at a restaurant, and I actually took a picture on my cell phone because I thought it was kind of cool, is, they would say, like, singing that, the happy birthday, like how the length of time to sing. And they actually had popular songs, to kind of sing along with, which I thought was kind of clever. That's a because, great idea. Most people don't wash their hands long enough. They don't use warm water. Or they don't use the proper procedure to shut off the water and get the paper towel. And so while you get some rolled eyes, that's probably one of the most prominent trainings we revisit on an annual basis, and then some. Not to mention the fact we have folks that there's a staff turnaround issue. There's substitute workers that come in. There's volunteers that come in. Everybody that touches food and serves foods needs to be trained on hand washing and single-use glove use. That's the other thing I would dare say, because you mentioned that. You said if you take your phone and then you put the gloves on, you think the gloves are almighty and you're not going to have any problems, which when you touch the gloves and you touch something and then you touch the door of the oven and then you touch the food, I think people think once they put gloves on, they're like, this is everything, but it's not, right? Because
it's the biggest mistake made in a kitchen. Yes.
For sure. And then we talk about, you do serve safe training as well. Your company provides that for folks. Level 2 certification is what we, want a lead to have in the kitchen. And, we used to say, and it's kind of gross, but, when you have people use the restroom and not wash their hands. I know it's a gross and nasty topic to talk about. There are certain foodborne illnesses that only come from poop, right? Let's just call it what it is. Isn't that true?
True.
So the revisiting the hand washing, I appreciate that that's the biggest infraction. From a physical structure, when you're walking around and looking, give us like 3 or 4 things that you're looking to see, like that might be besides the employee themselves. What do you think? What are you looking at when you're, so if I'm a supervisor listening to this podcast, I'm thinking, hey, when I walk in, what should I be checking? What should I be seeing? What should I be looking at on a daily basis or weekly basis?
Well, the biggest potential cross-contamination issue in a kitchen is a dirty cleaning towel that has not been soaking in a sanitizer solution. It's very easy to start wiping crumbs up and just leave a towel sitting somewhere because we're not using it. But bacteria needs to grow. It can happen very quickly. At some point, that rag's going to get to the point that it's more contaminating the kitchen than cleaning it. Right. So have your wiping cloths, cleaning cloths in a wiping cloth bucket that's made properly. That's another thing, is that when you make a sanitizer solution into that bucket, it's going to start breaking down almost right away. So if folks aren't refreshing their buckets very often, then we just have bacteria water sitting in a bucket. Yeah,
and they think just like those gloves, they're doing the right thing by taking this nasty cloth out and wiping a surface, and they're doing more harm than good. So that's a great one. That's a good one.
And along those same lines, sometimes folks are under the false pretense that using a towel out of that bucket is sanitizing a surface. And it's not, because in order to sanitize, you need to wash and rinse first. That cloth is not doing that. You're just wiping crumbs up throughout the day. The cleaning and the sanitizing happens when the food is put away, or preferably before the food comes out, but after the food is put away. It's when we want to bring the cleaners out.
No, I love that. Now, what about logs? What about temperatures and inspecting what you expect? I mean, I think about as a supervisor, I remember my favorite Shelley Schoonover, now retired at Hudson High School. She would wipe the handles because she was, just had gotten food sick, a food illness, and she was neurotic about it. But she also taught me a lot about how at the end of day, like cooling procedures. You and I have talked about like chill sticks and like documentation. Talk a little bit about just the general kind of, I think schools need reminder of that as well.
Of the documentation aspect. So the HACCP plan that is the law that schools have to follow, there are lots of standard operating procedures in there with documentation as the last step or after corrective action if it needs to be taken. Sometimes from a routine standpoint, HACCP became a law 20-ish years ago. People were freaking out because nobody knew how to do it, including a lot of directors. So we're past that. People know they have a HACCP plan. They're in place. They've been probably gone through 5 or 6 audits where the HACCP plan has been in place. Does that mean that everybody is still doing those standard operating procedures on what is in that initial HACCP plan? That's very easy to get out of a routine of doing that. And unfortunately, one of the routines that needs reminded is sometimes folks are writing stuff down on the logs without actually going through the standard operating procedure that goes into that. For instance, you have a thermometer, you're taking temperatures of food. I would lie to you if I said everybody has always done that properly every time. There are times where I've unfortunately seen production records filled out in the morning when the food hasn't even, including cooking temperatures, when the food hasn't even come out of the refrigerator yet. And when I've asked about it, the manager said, well, we know we're going to be cooking everything right, so I have time to fill this out now. That's not how the HACCP plan is supposed to work.
No.
You document when you see in real time. And it's all the different types of documentations. It's not just the cooking temperatures, but we're testing sanitizer. We're looking at the dish machine and writing down what's on the gauges every day. All of those different things that unfortunately, there's folks that need a little bit of a reminder that, you're in a routine that just needs adjusted. And about routines, a smart person told me a long time ago, and even though I don't keep touch with this person anymore, what he said stuck to me. If you are in a routine of doing something every day and it needs to change, it takes, on average, 17 times of doing it differently to actually have it stick as a different routine. So just because I would say or someone else would point out something to somebody, that doesn't mean it's going to change. Folks have to get in the habit of doing things differently and really practice it to have those routines stick.
I love that. And so we talk about best trainings to review on repeat, hand washing, glove use. You just brought up something about the buckets, the sanitizing buckets in the class. You also just brought up calibrating your thermometer. Hello.
Yep.
And I would often say if it's the same color pen and it's the same slant and it's written all the way down, when I see like the cooler log or the cooking log, I call BS on that too, right?
It's impossible.
You have to do it when you're doing it. And I love to see, people will say, don't make it look nice for me. It's got to have water drops or spaghetti stains on it, whatever. Production record is in production. It should be where you need to document just in time what's happening. Because really what we're looking at, in my opinion, are 2 things: being proactive instead of reactive. So you're looking at that cooler and you're able to address, hey, this is slightly out of temp. Let me call and make sure I can get my compressor checked, whatever. Instead of going, I came back and everything's thawed out. Something must have been wrong. If they don't have a routine practice of inspecting that, then they're going to lose product, lose money. Unsafe food, you name it, clean up, big job. I think these are, I guess when we talk about the why behind it, and maybe hopefully will help people establish these routines and buy into it, because it's not just busy work. It's necessary work, proactive work to make sure that we can be confident in what we're doing. When I talk about that, the biggest things that I believe, in my time in school nutrition, I wanted extra hours in my day to be able to look at logs, to be able to really validate and test out what my staff's knowledge is. Or, hey, I got a new batch of people here. We got some staff turnover. Your team has always been a partner. Me, when I was a director, and now in the many schools we offer and say, hey, you need a guy. Because the idea is, yes, when you open the door, they might say, I'm too busy to do this, but you can't.
You can't.
You can't be too busy to do food safety. You can't. You have to make time for it. And so one of the things that I know as a director, I didn't have enough time in my day to go out to all my sites and really do this. I also was worried about cost. So we wanted to make things that were cost effective. So when I met some of our schools, I'd see the big bleach and I'd see the Dawn, dish soap, and I'd see big bulk things. And there was no measuring. It was the glug method of building, cleaning buckets and, God forbid, 3-compartment washing sinks and not having test strips and stuff. Talk a little bit, again, I want you to share, your program makes it easy. So it's time saving, and it is also an extra set of eyes and supports for a school district. So talk a little bit about, I say the glug method, some easy strategies to save yourself time and set yourself up for a year of success when it comes to these types of programs, food safety.
I could talk about how our company works and the folks that actually created the SFS PAC, the School Food Service PAC program. Some real smart people came up with this about 35 years ago because they knew that it actually, to be honest, it started in maintenance. It wasn't in the kitchens. It started in the custodial line. The glub is something that is very easy for folks to do. You can buy a cleaner, a real strong concentrated cleaner, and you mix it yourself just by doing that. But then the dilutions are different every time. And as I mentioned earlier, cleaning isn't the chemical and how strong something is. It's the application and how you're doing it. So the smart folks at SFS PAC came up with a really neat system of always having, as long as you mix it properly, the same exact concentration in a spray bottle, in a wiping cloth bucket, in a sink. It's just all, we've taken the sort of the mystery of the glug out of it by having a whole system in place. And that's really what needs to happen. Portion control. Yes.
Yep. So you save money, you save time, you save money, and you ensure accuracy and dependability and consistency.
It's easy for, and sometimes on bids, companies will put a chemical on there, and the chemical's fine, it does a job, and it's inexpensive. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to remain inexpensive when folks overuse it.
Sure.
And that's very easy to happen. And I've had business managers tell me that when we have met with them to go over our program, that, we provide a fixed cost that, and which can save folks a lot of money. We ensure that our products are used properly. We're in Northern Ohio. We're part of a national program, but we're in about 500 schools in Northern Ohio. So we've been there, we've done that. We kind of know, based on what a kitchen is doing, roughly how much chemical they should be using. And there's a variance to that. Of course, we understand that. But when things get out of whack, it's on us to fix it with the staff. And a lot of times it's just retraining. And, I didn't realize that. I don't need to fill my sinks 5 times a day. I really only need to do it twice. Sometimes folks are in a routine of doing a lot extra when they don't even realize it because that's just the way it was done before.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we always end this show with a fun question, and that is because, we're talking school lunch, NutriSmart. We want to talk about food. What was your favorite school lunch when you were a student?
Well, I see it with going into kitchens every day. I still see this served. It's a lot healthier now, let's be honest.
Okay.
But the Fiesta pizzas are easily my favorite thing that I used to eat. In fact, when I sold food for one of the big food companies, I had a couple cases that I don't know if the customer misordered it or what happened, but I had to go pick it up, and we couldn't resell it to somebody. Right. So it was kind of like throw it out or take it home. And I was a bachelor at the time. I was living with 4 guys, and they were in heaven. Yeah. They went through 2 cases of Fiestadas in less than a week. Oh
my God, you were popular. That's hilarious.
That was awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show today. We appreciate all the work and collaboration you do in keeping our kitchen safe, our people educated, and best part, food that kids like to eat that's safe for them to consume. So you have a big piece in the village. It takes a team to do this, and we appreciate you're on ours.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.